Time to make a Multlicker video. A video for Dirt Nap. You know, well, for everybody, mostly for me, because it's kind of like life philosophy. Let's talk about life philosophy. Old E. Dirt Nap called me Old E. I thought that was hilarious. Multlicker. Cap in pocket. That's not for you to use, Dorf. You can't use my line. Get your own lines, Dorf. Dorf! Dorf, next time we get together, I'm going to suggest that we go eat lunch at a lunch place that I know, and I'm going to talk to you about ganging up on a few of your friends that you like, and I'm gonna need your support, or I'm gonna be crying about it for years. All right. Anyway, life talk, life philosophy. Dirt Nap was talking about, and I guess Florida 32 ounce was talking about it, but I didn't see that video. Maybe it was on your the Bagpiper channel. But the topic was guidance counselors, focus, life goals, that kind of thing. You know, I feel the need to move around a little bit. I had to walk through a swamp to get here, and then my shoes filled up full of water, so I'm going to be barefooted on this log. I had a guidance counselor, and I think that guidance counselors are really handicapped by possibilities. You know, like, what is it possible for me to do? Like, what am I interested in? Well, I'm interested in being outside. You know, maybe I could go to college and get into not like forestry, but forestry preservation. Like, they suggested to me, like, entry-level stuff is you go be a logger. I'm like, well, I don't want to go out in nature so I could cut it down. I want to go out to nature so I could understand it, so I could feel a part of it, so I could feel like I'm doing something that helps it. You know, especially since I know that managing forests, a lot of times, in a lot of cases, is keeping them from burning down, which is not natural. So if we're going to do something unnatural, then we're going to have to put in some extra effort. You know, that kind of thing. Like going to college to find out how can I take 1,000 acres of forest land and have that make more money than a company would make off by logging it. Like, what if it made the local economy money year after year, rather than one company hiring 14 people for that brief period of time? But, like, you know, your guidance counselor says, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm like, so only though, except I won't be going to college. I can't afford it. I don't have not only the grades to back it up, but, like, my first year of high school was at a trade school. So I was learning things that aren't taught in normal high schools. And then my second 2 years were in a normal high school, trying to get caught up with what everybody was learning in their first year of high school. And then my last year of high school, the teachers went on strike for an entire year. And I know that, like, it's state law, it's federal law that the state has to educate its children, but they don't necessarily have to educate their children. It's like, it'd be really nice if you did. We'll give you a failing mark, high school. But yeah, then you set me out, dirt poor, living on my own at 17, with really not a high school education even, and saying good luck. Yeah, I'll just jump straight into college, which I would have if college was free. This might be a little bit of a long one. So, you know, but screw college. There's tons of different ways to succeed. And also, career path doesn't necessarily mean shit, Like, there's tons of other paths to pursue. Like, someone was talking about, I know all these successful people, and each and every one of them is miserable. And I'm like, well, you have to change your perception of what successful is then. Maybe they were good at something, and that something provided them money so they could have the house, the car, and 3 great vacations a year or whatever. But that's not, they're successful in business. Maybe like successful in life is different. And I guess that's where focuses come in. Like, should you have many focuses? Should you be focused on one thing? Eye on the prize. I say eye on the prize a lot. That, this leads to my goal. This obstacle is unimportant because it doesn't, conquering this obstacle isn't going to be a step up. Successes and failures are both steps up. How I deal with failure, or how I turn that failure around or minimize its impact on my life, is a step up towards my goal. Unless it's not, then I'm just walking around it, because some things go wrong. Sometimes there's problems that are just straight up problems, not necessarily just happen to land in my lap, not necessarily a way to advance me in any way, just something you have to do. Like a bug splashing on your windshield, you just have to wipe it off. Dartnap, I told you I'd think about it. A topic of the video, but it's so gigantic, this topic. So, how about this? Let me tell you how I think you should become a ninja. Like, a ninja's goal is to, say, assassinate this emperor. No, it's not an emperor. It's an evil landlord that controls this, most of this little province in Shaanxi province. And so you decide to become a ninja. And what do you do? Who are you? Well, you're in construction. And you like to build things on your own. You're a hobbyist. And so you have that goal, that evil landlord, eventually one day. But your interests, meanwhile, need to be explored and expanded. Everything is important and connects in some way. So, like, you're doing your woodworking, you're making your chicken coop in your backyard. You want to put in a sprinkler system, so you learn something about pipe fitting and threading. Then you decide that when the raccoons start getting at your chickens, that you need to have some lights out there with a motion sensor. And you'd kind of like to have it run off some solar panels. And one thing just builds on another. And then you start selling the eggs and the chickens and plans for your chicken coops. And your neighbor wants you to build one. And then so you start getting into business. And then your chicken coops, they're little plain Janes. So you start getting into painting. And then you start getting into small business. And but meanwhile, eyeing the prize, that evil landlord just squeezing our people dry. People are hiding rice underneath their floorboards. Their kids are wearing rags. That evil landlord's got to go. But meanwhile, you keep working on yourself and working on your interests and expanding. Everything's important. Everything's connected. And then one day, the landlord, with using the money that he squeezed from your neighbors, decides to open a new wing on his palace, his little mini palace. And so you go and apply for work. He's like, well, can you do this kind of work? And you point to, well, I have a small business here. Here's an example of my chicken coops. You're probably talking to one of his flunkies, one of his functionaries, because you can't get near the man. The man's wearing robes and silks up by his hot tub. And you do a fantastic job putting a new wing on this guy's his mini palace. And then it turns out you do paint, because we'd like some of our inner hallways painted with lotus blossoms, signs of wealth. And then the evil landlord decides that he wants electric lights in all his hallways, and so you're like, well, I could do that, and then there's going to be a big banquet, and you're like, well, I also am an amateur chef, and then you go in there and you're cooking up a storm for the banquet. It goes really well, and the evil landlord gets some sort of insane food poisoning that somehow only hit his plate, and he's dead the very next day, and the health, wealth, and well-being flows back into the community, and all your neighbors are able to live their lives with prosperity, and their children are starting to go to school now, and they could wear lovely clothing, and they don't have to hide any of their rice anymore because there's plenty to eat for everybody. So that's what I think. That's what I think about interests. You should be interested in everything. And so one of my friends told me that he wanted to deny himself no life experiences, except for a few things that he didn't think were healthy. And the very few things that he considered unhealthy were of the most unhealthy of human ideas. So he was open to most things. But all right, set this aside. Gotta set this aside. All right, it's gonna be part one. It's gonna be a long one.